We're live. Hi, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's Dr. Christine Anderson, Los Angeles-based neurologic-based chiropractor. And I am here with Dustin.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah. I'm really excited to have him talk to you today about optimal breathing. And I've talked about this before in the context of the 7 facets to optimal health. And I'll put that link in the description. But it was about a week ago, right, that we were talking?
Yes.
Yeah. I was getting in my car and he was up on the second floor. We're having this conversation and we're talking about breathing. And he is so passionate about it. And everything he said, I was like, yes. We have to get you on the show so that you can talk about how you can help people so that they can get optimal breathing in their life. Because guess what? You can survive 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, and you only get about 3 minutes without oxygen. And that's it. You're done. So talk about being essential. We need to breathe, and most of us are not breathing properly. And so you're not getting enough oxygen into your brain, into your body for nourishment, for taking away toxins. So I'm going to pass it on to Dustin. You know me by now. If you've been watching my shows, like I get right to it. It's like no BS, right? So Dustin is going to tell a little bit about his story. He has a very interesting way how he came to be so passionate about breathing. So he's going to talk a little bit about that. And I think you said you're going to talk about the respiratory system, why we need oxygen, and then give them some tips and tricks. Am I right?
Of course. I'm going to flow
or
with
did you make it up?
I made it. Hi, everyone. I'm going to actually flow with a little bit of a story of understanding. Where am I looking here? Am I looking right here?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. See? Okay, so what happened is 11 years ago, I was standing in the kitchen. It was in the middle of the night, and I started to feel this moment of everything starting to black out. And so when it started to black out, I ended up passing out. And when I came to, I was in this most magical place. When I say magical, I don't mean that the colors changed or anything looked different than how we see the world today. But everything felt so vibrant. It felt so alive. It felt so connected. And I was in this space for hours. When I was done, I felt like I was electrocuted for a few hours. And then for a few days afterwards, I had a real hard time understanding language when people were talking to me. And so for years afterwards, I strived to find out what happened. What was this experience that I experienced? How did I get there? How come I wasn't in control of it? And how do I get back to it? And when the experience was over, what ended up happening is that, regular day life comes back in. You come back in, you have these emotions, you have likes, dislikes, fears. And so I started to really start to study, how do I get back to this space? And the first thing that comes up is breath. Okay, so in breath, that we all are going to breathe 21,000 times a day. Whether we want to breathe or don't want to breathe, we're going to breathe 21,000 times a day, okay? And what we naturally tend to do is we naturally tend to breathe through our mouth and we breathe into our chest. And what that does to your nervous system is it creates a space for anxiety, fear, worry as a ground to stem from. And so what we want to do is we want to take this involuntary breath system and we want to move it towards something that is useful for us. And so what we then start to do is we start to move toward the nose, right? So we have to get conscious about breathing through our nose. That's the very first thing that we have to do. So, and when we do, and I know the camera doesn't go this low, but I'm going to go ahead and show.
I'm going to.
Okay, perfect.
It can angle.
Oh,
Watch
this is fantastic.
the magic of
TV. Oh my goodness, look at it go. Oh, wow. This is fantastic.
All right.
Okay, so what we're going to do, and I'll give a recap at the end of this, but what we're going to do is that you can do this in the beginning of the day, you can do this at the end of the day, and I'm going to give you some tips in this area. But what we're going to do is we're going to put our hands on our belly, okay? And we're going to do quite the opposite of what everyone has been teaching us to do for a very long time, which is suck our belly in. So we're going to breathe through our nose, and we're going to breathe into our belly. And what I would like to see is that you actually expand your belly out, push your hands out when you do this. And that's how you know that you're breathing all the way into the bottom of your belly, okay? So we're going to do that now through the nose, and we're going to close the mouth. We're going to breathe in. And we're going to exhale through the nose, okay? Now, as we continue to do this, so we can include the mind, because the breath is the direct link to the mind, we are going to label. You can say it out loud, or you can say it inside of your mind. We're going to say, I'm breathing in. I'm breathing out. We're just going to do this for a minute. I'm breathing in.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have always been taught that our exhale should be about twice as long as the inhale.
Okay.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
A twice as long inhale is absolutely brilliant. And you're activating different parts of your body.
Twice as long exhale, right?
Twice as long exhale, yes.
Okay.
And so what we're trying to do, what we're trying to achieve with just this first stage is just for the people out there that I'm breathing in.
Get them used to using their belly.
Right? It's a different feeling in the body.
Sure.
To get to the spot where it's weird, right? We're used to breathing into our chest, and we're used to kind of sucking in our stomach, especially in America. And so we're just trying to figure out. And then, of course, you're 100% right, and we're going to address that here in a minute. And so then what happens is that once we get past this, so if you just do this for a couple minutes each day, 2 minutes max, you can do anything for 2 minutes. And the best time to do it is right before you go to sleep. You can do it right when you wake up if you choose to, but you do it right before you go to sleep. And during this 2 minutes, when you're saying, I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out, you're just letting go. You're letting go of being a man. You're letting go of being a woman. You're letting go of being a husband, a wife, a friend, or whatever you label yourself as a human being. Just let go. Just let go. Just take your awareness and ride that breath in all the way into your belly, and then let it come back out. And that alone, we're going to cover a whole lot of other things, but that alone will do tremendous.
I felt a difference just doing it. What was that, like?
Just a
20
few minutes.
seconds?
Yep.
Was that even a minute?
I don't know. I could do it for a very,
I don't know,
very
but
long
I mean,
time.
I can already feel the shift. So for those
Mhm.
of you who, even if you did it for that short period of time, it's amazing.
It really is.
Though that calming effect, and just, whew, it's like, yes, all right.
Yes. And so to get back to your double exhale, okay, what you're doing when you do that is that, let's say that we start to count, okay, we're accomplishing such a great subject.
Right.
Thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
Well, yeah, because
it's such a great subject, okay? So here's what happens. This ties in awareness. And so when you start to count your breath, just like Dr. Chris is saying, when you start to count your breath and you count, let's say, an inhale of 3, okay? So you're coming in, and then you're doubling your exhale, and you're going to count to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's all coming through your nose, okay? What starts to occur is that you bring your awareness into your breath. And when you bring your awareness into your breath, now you're really starting to tie things together in your body-mind system. And it allows you to start to focus your mind, which is everything. Your mind is everything. Breath is the bridge to your awareness, and it is everything. And once you can focus your mind, you will start to take your respiratory system into an involuntary space that will run on its own. You don't have to pay attention to it anymore. So as you start to do this more and more often, what'll happen is you'll be walking through the day,
Mm-hmm.
and you will notice that your body will catch itself through breath. And the way to do that, the way to achieve that, so it just naturally calms itself down, the way to do that is that we start off by just saying, I'm breathing in and I'm breathing out. And then what we want to do is that every time we see you guys can't see it from here, but I'm looking at a door. And so every time we walk through that door, we want to say, this is my trigger.
Yeah.
To remember to breathe in through my nose and into my belly. And that's it.
Yeah.
It's really that simple.
Yeah, well, we need reminders because I mean, I know I get busy, I'm running around. I find myself holding my breath and I know all this. So it's, it's mind boggling that just bringing it into your consciousness will just start happening. Like then you won't start having to think about it. So I thought that was a brilliant idea of using the doorway. You can use whatever works for you. It doesn't have to be a doorway, but there's doorways everywhere. So it's a really great reminder. And then we were talking about sitting at computers, as so many of us are doing, especially now. Thankfully, not me. Well, me in some ways, thankfully not in others. I get to move my body with my chiropractic aspect. But here's the thing. If you're sitting at your computer, and I know I'm bad at this too, you get going and you're working on something and your shoulders are up here and you're like, so I was like, what, I suggested timers. You've got timers everywhere. You've got them on your phone. I'm sure there's an alarm on the computer too. I haven't used that, but I was just asking Dustin if he had any other suggestions for people who are sitting at the computer. So
I like about 50 minutes. 50 minutes allows you to get done what you need to get done, because the second you remove your mind from a particular subject or whatever you're working on, it takes a little bit to come back. It's kind of like watching the screen. If an email pops up, it takes just a little bit to bring your focus back. So I like to do 50-minute sections. And when I'm done, I like to stand up, even if it's for 30 seconds. I like to breathe.
Yeah.
I like to breathe into my belly. You can do what Dr. Chris said and count your breath. It's even better than what I was recommending, because then you're really becoming active in what you're doing. And then sit back down. You can stretch if you want, and then sit back down. And all of a sudden, what'll happen is that as you sit in front of the computer, exactly what Dr. Chris is saying, your shoulders start to come up, your body starts to lean forward. And when you do, it's harder to breathe into your stomach. And you start to breathe more into your chest. And what happens is then the mind becomes active, and it says there's something slightly wrong, with a little bit of worry or a little bit of anxiety. And if something pops in as a thought, it may kind of wrap itself around that and dive down that rabbit hole. And so then it starts to release chemicals in your body, cortisone. It's starting to run things that are not good for your immune system. So by just taking that friendly reminder every 50 minutes and just standing up straight if you can, breathing into your belly, will tremendously change your overall day.
I always like to say, get up, go get a glass of water and drink it. And then you'll probably have to pee in like 50 minutes. And then then you'll see a doorway, and then oh my God, I got to breathe. And you get like a couple of things done at once. Look, I'm a multitasker. I'm a mom too. So if I can get like multiple things done at once, it's like bonus points. We got to like fit it all in, right? Yeah. And then touching on that point about what it does when you're breathing, positive or negative. So when you're breathing shallowly versus breathing with your belly, going into the whole, you were talking about cortisol, which is a hormone produced by the adrenal glands, but then we also have the whole parasympathetic and sympathetic system. The what? This is part of the autonomic nervous system, which I always think of as automatic. You're not really thinking about it, but it kind of kicks in. It's a sort of gas pedal versus brakes, right? So go, 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 or hang on a second. We got to just stop and rest and rejuvenate. But if you've got your foot on the gas pedal all the time, guess what? You're going to produce cortisol and you're not going to breathe properly. So all these things kind of go together.
100%.
And that breathing through the nose is essential for that aspect. From what I understand, breathing in through the nose calms our body down, calms our brain down. When you breathe in through your mouth, it's more of a sort of hyperventilating trigger of the brain. Like, there's something wrong here. We can't get enough oxygen. Oh my God, what's happening? We're going to die.
And that's exactly what it does.
Yeah. See?
That's exactly what it does. That's exactly. So here's another tip. Here's a fun tip. Okay. So if you get yourself into a spot where you feel very anxious, very, very, and you're not quite doing it, right? You're breathing into your belly, but your mind's going a little bit crazy. What you can do is you can plug your right nostril. Okay. And you're just going to breathe in through the left nostril. Okay. So you're going to close your mouth. You're going to close your right nostril. And I'm going to show it. You're going to breathe in. And if you do that for a few minutes, you will notice an instantaneous change in your mind. It is a direct link to your mind.
So you're just breathing in and out through the left nostril.
That's it.
So you're not doing the naughty breathing with breathing in and then exhaling through the side.
This is just the tip.
Oh.
There's a lot to breathing.
Well,
this could go on for years and years and years of
Absolutely,
conversation.
guys. I mean, this is like talk about tips, tip of the iceberg. But I'm gonna ask you why. Why just one side?
Okay, so
I always want to know why.
This side,
inquisitive.
Without getting into details of how Sanskrit labels it and yoga and a lot of ancient text, let's just make it simple. Let's say that this side is connected to your mind and to your inner body, and on your right side, it is connected to activity and movement. Okay. Right. So if that balance, yeah. And it switches every about hour and 20 minutes. Okay. So if you check it anytime throughout the day, right, and you hold your hand under here, you'll notice that sometimes of the day you're breathing predominantly out of the left nostril and predominantly out of the right nostril. Okay. And that is what keeps you balanced between activity and your inner world. And you do have two worlds, your outer world and your inner world. And so it balances those two throughout the day. Now, if your mind becomes too active, you would close the right nostril and that would calm it down. Okay. And if you needed a little boost to get you moving around, you felt a little sluggish, you could do quite the opposite.
Oh, good.
And it would get you up and moving too.
I love that tip.
Yeah.
I love that tip. So rather than relying on caffeine and, whatever, you can use breath to energize you as well as calm you down. So holding the right nostril, letting the air into the left side to calm you down, holding the left nostril, letting the air come into the right nostril to perk you up, wake you up, get energy. I love that. I love using these methods because you have these at your disposal all the time. You don't have to get any special equipment. There's no weird, props. You just have to sit there and breathe. That's it. You just have to do it. That's the only thing. Like, it's a simple thing, but we don't do it. We don't breathe. We don't breathe enough. We don't breathe as we should. And our health suffers for it. And this is part of the problem, is that we're looking for solutions once problems begin. But if you can get to the cause of what's going on in your body right away and use these simple tools, then you can have optimal health and an optimal life, which is why this is named Optimal Health, Optimal Life, and the secrets to it. So anything else you think that they should know? I mean, I know there is a whole bunch you could say.
I could keep going for a very long time on this subject.
And I get it. And then people will have to breathe through their right nostril because then, the attention span. So, what else do we actually absolutely have to know?
Okay, so let's do one more thing, and then we'll do a recap. And what are we looking at time? How does this
we
work?
Are at 18 minutes and 54 seconds.
We definitely don't have enough time, but we're gonna get this. We're gonna get this done. Okay.
It goes by quick.
The other thing is that what we want to do is that when you're taking those breaths at night, now that we know that we're breathing through our nose and we know that we're breathing into our belly, we want to take that breath up to our collarbones. Okay. So what we're doing here is that when we put our hands on our belly, we know we're breathing into our belly. We want to fill it with the air. So we start at the bottom and we take it in through our nose all the way into our belly. And we then start to fill it up. And so what we're doing is we're taking our lungs from the bottom and we're filling them all the way up until we get to the collarbone. And you can feel it. And I'm going to give an example of what that looks like right now. Okay. So you're going to see my chest come out, but I'm going to start at my belly. And I'm gonna make it go.
Take this down a bit.
I'm gonna make it overextend, so you can see what exactly is occurring here. So I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna put my hands here, and I'm gonna breathe out, and then you're gonna see up to my chest when I start to come in. Okay. And when I exhale, I'm exhaling from my collarbone down. Okay, so when I'm bringing my breath in, I'm bringing it in from below my navel, if possible. Okay. And then when I exhale, I'm coming from the top here and emptying.
Fun fact, folks, people don't know it, but your first rib is way up here and your lungs go way up here.
I love when I learn something new.
Did you know that?
I did not. I love when I learn something new.
I'm like, the first ribs are up here, and people are like, what? Like, yeah, your first rib is right here, and your lungs go all the way up there.
I love when I learn something new.
Yeah.
See? And you know, it's even better when you understand something from a practice, and then you get information like this. It all starts to come together. You're like, oh, that makes so much sense. Yes. Yeah. And so the reason that we want to do that is because we have stale air in our lungs. We have carbon monoxide. We have pollutants from the air. We have things that don't get, because the majority of people are only using 30% of their lungs.
Yep.
Okay. And so what happens is they breathe into their chest right here, and they're only replenishing. Okay. And how you get your air is exactly how it is affected by prana. And let's use prana as the word of energy for this particular conversation. Okay. So if you use 30% of your prana / energy in this area, that's all you're going to get back.
Yeah.
Out. You're going to feel tired. You're going to feel sluggish. You're going to feel like you don't have a little pep in your step, you know? And so we're going to try to get our air all the way to the bottom. And then what we're going to do is, by expanding our lungs in this way, we're going to bring all that stale air and carbon monoxide back out.
Yep.
And the second that we do that, we immediately start to boost our immune system, which has a tremendous amount of effects on all aspects of our lives.
Absolutely. We need oxygen. That's it. Pure and simple.
That is. You have to have it.
You have to. It's essential. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Maybe 4. Not much more. Maybe there's some people that can go more, but we're talking minutes versus days or weeks for our other things we consider essential. So
there's some ancient cultures actually that used to measure life by how many breaths you took. Very interesting concept. So I'm going to add one more thing here. As you start to breathe into, the average person breathes 16 breaths per minute. Okay. So if you were to count your breath and just time it, you'll realize that it's around 16. Okay. If you can get that by learning and training your body to breathe into your belly to below 10, I promise you, I make this promise on your site.
Yeah.
You will extend your life. You will extend the life of your body. You will extend your health benefits, your energy, every aspect about your life. You will start to feel a vitality start to creep into.
I believe it.
And so this affects how you sleep. It affects how you operate throughout the day. It's beautiful. It's very beautiful.
It is.
Yes.
Another fun fact. I wonder if you knew this. Do you know about heart rate variability? That your heart rate increases when you inhale and decreases when you exhale?
Only by experience.
Yeah.
Not by the intellectual understanding of it. I just understand it by experience. Yes.
Because you felt that.
Yes. But please explain.
Well, it makes sense, right?
For those that may not have experienced this yet.
Well, it's a measurement that I do measure it here in my office, that you look at your respiratory rate. So what Dustin was talking about, breathing 16 times a minute, which is actually pretty fast. But most people are breathing too fast because they're breathing shallowly and not getting enough oxygen. But anyway.
Exactly.
And then I measure what happens to the heart rate when they're breathing. And so there's a certain pattern that should be, it's sort of like a bell curve. You want to see more activity in the center. And if it's not balanced, then it actually can mean that you have too much sympathetic control. So too much foot on the gas pedal, or At the other end, it could mean there's actually a conductivity problem between the different nodes of the heart. So it's very interesting to look at. But the way I train it is through biofeedback. And you can train it to become more in sync, lower your respiratory rate, and get that heart rate in sync with your respiratory rate. So you can actually work on changing that. It's really fascinating. And it happens very, very quickly.
Brilliant. But no, I mean, you know, life is fun. It really is, right? When you start to play with it, life is just fun.
Yeah.
And there becomes a point where people, it's not fun, you know, and it's usually because the mind ends up getting very stressed, and it has worry and it has anxiety. And so when you start to apply these, I'm talking about very basic steps today. Yeah. When you start to apply them, they can extend into all kinds of different breath work, pranayama that was mentioned. They can go for years and years and years by being expanded upon. Yep. But the start always is the same. It is breathing through your nose as often as possible, using doorway triggers to be that cue. Breathe through my nose. And then just see if you can hold it. You know, if you can hold it for one breath or two breaths or three breaths. And then what will happen is the mind will go, did I call so-and-so? I don't remember if I called so-and-so. Oh, yeah. Did I leave? You know, and that's okay. But when the awareness comes back in, it'll say, oh, yeah, I'm supposed to be breathing through my nose.
Right.
And that's when you try to get as many breaths as possible through your nose before life happens again. Exactly. And then you start to train your system to breathe through your nose and relax you throughout the day.
Yeah, just checking in with yourself. So powerful. And last week I talked actually about how to release fear, and I did allude that breathing is one of the steps you can do it. So now you have more detail on that, and I'll put that link in the description as well. Well, Dustin, I don't know. Do we have, if anybody has any questions, you can type it in the chat because we're going to wrap it up here. Any last words?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Of course.
Seriously, I am very grateful to be able to share this. It's something that has dramatically changed my life. And it has taken me very, very deep. This is the beginning for those of you that are looking for something, for more fulfillment in life. This is the beginning stages of that deeper fulfillment. It is beginning stages of meditation. I don't like to use the word meditation because meditation should be spontaneous. It is not something that you can will. It is not something that you can force. It will actually create extra tension.
I hear we're going to bring Dustin back, and he's going to talk about meditation next.
Yes. And so really what it is these are the steps that build you to spontaneous meditation. And meditation meaning simply that the mind stops thinking and it singularly focuses and falls into absolutely amazing places. It's quite a journey.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Dustin. I really appreciate it. And you guys, it's such a treat. All right. I'm going to see you next week, Tuesday, same time, same bat channel, 6:30 p.m. I am going to talk about optimal sleep because let's face it, guys, we need to rejuvenate. We need to renew each night. And if that's not happening, talk about a life sucker. That will just knock the years off right there. All right. So have a great week, and I'll see you all next week.